Somebody shared this article with me about young single men are leaving traditional churches. They found a more masculine alternative. And, it's about and this is in the Telegraph here, this side of the pond. And new parishes are planned across the US to accommodate a tsunami of male worshippers who have converted since the pandemic. And it's talking about the conversions to the Orthodox Church. Now, this is a topic I can talk about. This is a topic that I can talk about because a few years ago I was on the cusp of becoming Orthodox. And why was I so attracted to the Orthodox Church? Because when I was in seminary 30 years ago, we went to Romania to an ecumenical conference that we were, representing the Vatican at this conference as Catholics. And in this conference, it was hosted by the Orthodox in Romania in Iași. And I will remember to my dying day that conference, not because of the Orthodox, the ecumenical side of the conference, because there was everybody was there, Protestants and the Lutherans and all the broad spectrum of people that had come, but because of the Orthodox, the witness of the Orthodox, their faith, their liturgy, their chapels, and so forth. It is truly one of the most beautiful experiences that I had, and I struck up a friendship with a monk at the time, Theophil, who has since become a bishop. And he sent me an icon here of the inexhaustible chalice, this icon of Christ coming out of the chalice, and the chalice is being held by Our Lady. So, and it always stuck with me. And then, I left seminary, and I left, and I got married, and then I was coming back to my faith. And one of the things that attracted me a lot was the Orthodox Church, and I went to Mount Athos a few times, studied there, and then I started studying traditional Catholic mysticism, and that really opened me up a whole world that I hadn't been aware of. So, but I can understand why young men would be attracted to the Orthodox Church. It is very masculine. Their liturgy is very masculine. It's very reverent. If you go on a pilgrimage to Mount Athos, you're not going to be given your half-hour happy clappy with a guitar mass and kumbaya and hold hands type of thing. I tell you, you want to strengthen your masculinity, stand at an Orthodox divine liturgy for a few hours, and it'll strengthen you up. It's quite an experience. And it certainly was for me, and it certainly is a challenge, and this world needs a challenge. The young men are leading a challenge. I mean, when you look at the Catholic Church, for example, at the moment, the crisis that we're in, especially our liturgy, this new mass that is, that they've been ramming down our throat for the last 50 years, that in certain countries has flourished, like in South Korea and Asia, and it has flourished, and in other places definitely hasn't challenged us very much. But when you look at the comparisons between the two liturgies, but if you also look at something else that's happened in the last year, guys, and this is a message for bishops, cardinals, the Catholic Church in general. When what was the most Googled document on the Vatican website in the last year? We had a cardinal come out in a press conference earlier last year, and he said, "Oh, what's all this kerfuffle about that little document we published before Christmas? Like, it's the most Googled document in the history of the church since the internet has been born." Go figure. It hasn't done diddly squat to, engage the normal man in the last year. It really hasn't. The Catholic, Cardinal Martina Fernandez document hasn't done diddly squat. And yet he has to come on and explain it. Well, okay, like, continue to publish those documents, but at the end of the day, you're totally forgetting what this generation is actually looking for, which is a challenge. They're looking for a challenge, a little bit thing to kind of grasp them, to waken them up. You know, the boot camp, a kind of a boot camp Catholicism. And the Orthodox Church, they'll give you a challenge. Believe me, they will give you a challenge, especially their monastic system. But I do want to caveat that by, if you scratch a little bit under the surface, the Orthodox Church has the exact same problems as the Catholic Church. Don't go thinking that, everything is greener on the other side. It isn't. We saw the number 2 of the Russian Orthodox Church who was exiled to Budapest. And, you scratch a little bit under the surface. Well, you're not in a much stage to be criticizing the confusion in the Catholic Church. I just say that. And then you also see half the time one part of the Orthodox Church is excommunicating another part, or is not in communion with another part. The Russians are in excommunication with Constantinople, or Constantinople is this. And then you have this constant infighting between the Orthodox churches over jurisdiction. The Romanian one, the Greek one, the Bulgarian, Serbian. It's very ethnic. And that was one of the things when I was saying, well, what type of Orthodox do I become if I was to become Orthodox? I'm Irish. My tradition has been Roman Catholic. My family's been Roman Catholics for a millennium. And so that really kind of struck me. And then everything that these young men are looking for, we have in the Catholic Church, although it's been kind of sidelined. They don't want the Chartres pilgrimage, they don't want the Covadonga pilgrimage, they don't want these type of things promoted. We want the happy clappy stuff in the Mass. This is the new liturgy to get with that engages nobody. The Catholic Church needs to wake up. If you look at in the Catholic Church, if you go to an SSPX Mass, right, a Society of St. Pius X Mass, the Mass, the society that really held on to the old rite, one thing I will give them is their ability to involve men in the Mass. If you look at Athlone, which is the nearest one, at a Mass, they will have 12 boys. And they will involve the boys in the Mass, rotate them. They will, a confraternity, having them serve at the Mass. Serving at a traditional Latin Mass takes a lot of training for a young man. You're standing there in front of the priest, you're moving the missal, moving the pages. You have to understand Latin, you have to understand the responses. And at a high Mass, there is a lot to do for young men to be involved with. In the new Mass, most of the time, in the last 5 years, I haven't seen a single altar server at Mass. Apart from sometimes in Knock, you see them. But in your ordinary parishes, young men or boys are zero involved in the liturgy. Zero. There's no involvement. And then you're saying, how do we engage the young people? Well, you don't engage them in liturgy. The SSPX Mass, you have the most amazing choirs. And they involve usually the women as a choir. Or if you go to a Syro Malabar, Syro Malankar liturgy, there's a lot of involvement of the laity of children in the Mass. We know, the Novus Ordo has kind of, especially in the West, I'm not going to say it's a universal thing, but especially in Ireland, engages nobody of the next generation. I went to a Dominican Mass today and I was looking around the chapel. It was 11 o'clock Mass in Sligo, and I was looking at the chapel. It's a new, strange, weird looking chapel, and it was 30% full. 30% full, and you really look at the profile, the age profile, and that says a lot. We're not engaging the next generation. We have to engage them to practice the faith. And we don't like doing that in the Catholic Church anymore in Ireland. That's why our washed down education is so washed down, we've washed the faith out of them. Whereas we could be doing so much more. We could be absolutely doing so much more, especially the reform of liturgy could have been a beautiful opportunity in the church, and it was just a missed squid. Because it is really, when you look at all of the liturgies, all of the divine liturgies, you're looking at the Armenians or the different liturgies, apostolic liturgies, and then you look at the Novus Ordo and you say, what happened to us? What happened to us? Like if you go into, the liturgy is an outward sign of a mystery. Remember, the liturgy is supposed to convey to us an incredible mystery. So when you go into an Orthodox church, first thing you're going to do is smell something. The incense. There's always a smell of incense. You're going to visual the icons, which are a teaching exercise in themselves. The iconoclasts, the vestments, the hymns, the psalms, the reverence, the choir, etc., etc. It's very, very beautiful. You go into some Catholic churches, we don't. It's a performance now. And so, what does a young man see when he's looking at the Novus Ordo style liturgy that we have in some churches? It's not engaging me. If he goes to an Orthodox church, and this is what's happening in America, because you have, not so much in Ireland, but in America, because they're in every city, it will attract people. And you've got some very, very, very good Orthodox priests, like extremely capable. So I think it's a challenge to the Catholic Church. It's a challenge to us Catholics, because, to be clear, that is our tradition. We had this beautiful liturgy in our tradition. We had beautiful sanctuaries in our tradition. When you go to some of our Catholic cathedrals in Ireland and you look at the mosaics they have behind it, they look like a child drew them. Or crosses, and you're saying, what happened? This, guys, was part of our tradition. And people think that these signs and these vestments, and get rid of them, and it's too patriarchal, and it's too this and too that. Well, sooner or later you'll realize that what was traditional, was very beautiful in the church, and what previous generations held sacred is sacred to us too. So that's my little rant there. But as I said, I've studied this and over a number of years, and I think I can speak from experience on this. While I love Orthodoxy, don't think that everything is perfect when you get there. It won't be. It definitely won't be. But the Catholic Church is a big church. And traditional church, if you look a little closer, you will find that there are churches, the Greek Catholic or the Eastern churches, and the traditional Latin Mass communities in the Roman Rite are very masculine traditional. That's the truth of it. Offer it. Offer a traditional Latin Mass. Get young boys involved in training to serve a traditional Latin Mass. Do the experiment for a few years. See what happens. The reason why the Chartres pilgrimage, especially among the men young, is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. Yet the church says, no, we don't want that. Sorry, this old liturgy, get back. Sorry, we're trying to stamp that out. Traditionis custodes, get it out of the parish. No new priest can say it. Oh, for God's sake, what is happening? What is happening in the Catholic Church? If a priest wants to say a traditional Latin Mass and learn the liturgy, let him learn it. Better than that than some of the stuff the priests were getting up to in their spare time. Challenge. The Catholic Church needs to challenge. I think Rome had their answer last year to what is going on in the church. And Carlo Fernandez there was scratching his head. Well, why is that little document about blessing people in regular unions getting the #1 searches and readership in the church? And why are those Coptics now breaking off ecumenical relationship with us? Sure, it's just a blessing. It's like, do you not see the optics for the ordinary man? What the church is doing? Like the ordinary man. The ordinary man is now the peripheries of the Catholic Church. Do you know what I mean? He's there looking around. Well, what are you doing? What is this religion? What do you got to offer me? Like, what is it? Explain it. Like, where are you going? You know, there needs to be an outreach apostolate to the ordinary man in the church. When I say the ordinary man in the street, there needs to be an outreach apostolate just for them. And the church will soon realize, now we understand why our Lord discipled and created male apostles only. So, you know, because God loved the church, and let's hope. But when you look around, when you see the structures that we have in place in the Irish church at the moment, it's failing to engage the ordinary young man completely. It's dismally failing to engage. There's no engagement in the liturgy. The liturgy is very feminized. It's entertainment. You know, go to a traditional Latin Mass, involve young men. You will see it will flourish. It will flourish. There won't be men rushing off to join the Orthodox Church if we engage them in the proper way. But we don't want to engage in the liturgy. We don't want to engage in catechesis. We don't want to engage in education. And, you know, those criticizing me about Catholic education say, well, at least they're getting something. Yeah, you're getting something. But why not get something that'll actually form you, challenge you? You know what I mean? Challenge you, really. So anyway, this will give somebody food for thought. But as I said, I kind of know this topic, but I do understand the appeal of Orthodoxy. It is extremely, and it's traditional, it's profound, it's beautiful, and you've some incredible people there in the Orthodox Church, and some incredible saints that I admire, and a history and so forth. But so does us Catholics. So do we Catholics. You know, when you study the lives of some of the Catholic saints, they were real men of God and real women of God. Real challenges. You know, I think of the Jesuit order, and I think of With God in Russia by the author's name. I'm getting a blank on the author's name, but there was an American Jesuit who was captive in the communist behind the curtain, Walter Cziszek, Father Walter Cziszek. I mean, what happened to the Jesuits and Father Walter Cziszeks? Where are our Father Walter Cziszeks? An incredible priest, a man of God. God, like, no doubt about it. This is where you need to challenge. There needs to be a challenge to this generation. You're not doing it. The church is not doing it. You know, I was at Christmas Mass in Knock over Christmas, and you know, there was a few people that had come that I knew hadn't been to Mass in a while, and they were there standing, and they didn't know whether to stand or sit or the responses. And like, you need an outreach to these people that come at Christmases and Easters, because I tell you, this generation is looking for something, and we're there. No, we don't know what to say. We're doing this synodality thing. You can be part. Are you interested in the synodal church, new synodal church we're doing, or they're not interested in synodality? They're not. They want God. Give them God. They don't want new logos designed by gay massage therapists. This is what they're looking for, guys. Wake up. We have it in the Catholic Church. Offer it. We had it in the Roman Rite. Offer it. I mean, which there are certain things I like about the Novus Ordo, but this is where my video keeps going. Now, why is it auto? And it's on manual focus. Anyway, we have so much to offer this generation in the church, but like, come on, let's see where it goes. Challenge to the bishops and the pastors, less fiducia supplicans and more outreach to the ordinary man. Why not make a document? Let's see what's the next Vatican document, which will be the most read document that'll engage the world's media and other churches. Where are we going as a church? Are we continuing on this trajectory? Offer saints, be saints. The world wants saints. Be men of God. Men are looking for men of God. Give them that role model. We want to see in you who we would follow you. Do men look up to strong men, holy men. And there's a great appeal in Orthodoxy because you have some incredible men of God, you do. Where is it in Catholicism? That's why I go back to the Walter Chischeks and some incredible men of grit, or Maximilian Kolbe, and others during the last war. Come on, God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.